fruits.
Balrogs and Blastbeats, with some Blastbeats included. Another week of just three nerds getting together to talk music, to talk nerddom, to talk pop culture, and just have a bit of fun. I am one of your hosts, Josh Redbeard.
Pause.
Was I next? Shit, I'm Margy.
Margy,
I
you're
forgot
next.
to talk. I am, for those following on from last episode, I am still hungover.
And I'm Grant, and I guess after that that fantastically done intro, we're just going to move into our normal scheduled podcast of the nerdiest thing. And so we don't have to wait, I'm just going to start with myself.
Do it.
So we're going to 6 days ago, I started a new playthrough of Skyrim.
Fuck yeah.
So
Yeah.
most people that play a lot of games have played shitloads of Skyrim. So, but with this playthrough, I've used this thing. It's called Alternate Start. It's a mod for the game which allows you to like start the game role playing as a different character to just being the regular Dragonborn. So the game essentially it removes dragons from the game unless you decide later on to go out and do the main quest. But you could start as just being an orc living in a stronghold and just roleplay being an orc the whole game instead of like playing the actual Skyrim as it was intended. Because who wants to play Skyrim as intended?
Fair.
There's
Absolutely.
one where you can start in a random prison in one of the holds and you have to break out of the prison, and that's just you just do whatever you want from there. There's even you can spawn as a member of Vigilance of Stendar, which are like these characters that hunt Daedra, which are basically the Elder Scrolls version of like demons. But I had mine select. There's also like a select at random, and that's what I did. So that chose for me. I spawned into the game as a member of the Dark Brotherhood, which are like this. It's like this league of assassins, and which was immediately difficult because I play Skyrim on expert difficulty to make it harder because sometimes the gameplay is a bit boring because it's easy, and like it's a high leveled quest like when you eventually get to like the Assassin's Guild, and I just started straight off in there. I'm like, oh, my gear's all shit. I'm just gonna have to grind my way through this. And so essentially after in the last 6 days I've managed to pile on 27 hours of Skyrim.
Amazing.
Considering I work a
Impressive.
full-time job, that's about 4.5 hours a night. And one of those nights in that 6 days I also had D&D, so it's really like 5 days. So I've been playing a lot of Skyrim, so maybe if my notes aren't that good this episode, you probably know why. Because I was like, I should do some research. What were we talking about? Bionics. I could talk about RoboCop. Yeah, I'm going to talk about RoboCop.
Spoiler alert.
No, it's not a spoiler alert because I never
the
looked it
episode
up.
title.
I never looked up RoboCop because I played too much Skyrim, and I got to today. I'm like, I haven't seen RoboCop recently enough to really talk about shooting people's cocks off. So
Amazing.
with that, I'm gonna have to pass it to Josh. What's the nerdiest thing you've done this week?
I did what I feel like everyone who's broke likes to do is just like I went on a website to imagine that I'm rich for a day. Have either of you been on the website thisiswhyimbroke.com?
No, but I'm gonna look at it right now.
It's fucking amazing. Like the things that it has on there, it like quite literally has everything from currently I'm looking at a shirtless Dr. Ian Malcolm action figure. And then right next to that is the first Hyundai's first nitrogen powered concept car. There's a link to an Etsy website that has like these like D&D dice that have LEDs inside of them that come with like a chargeable case. It's like, it's literally, it has all these amazing shit. It has a house that has a Star Wars themed fucking like cinema room in it. And it's literally just like links to things, whether it's on Etsy, it's on Amazon. It links to like realtors' websites. But yeah, people just post ridiculous shit. And it's just funny just to scroll through and just be like, oh yeah, I remember finding ages ago, they actually had in the new Tron Legacy, someone actually built the light cycle, like a proper working roadworthy light cycle from Tron, and it was available for sale on thisiswhyimbroke.com. And so I've just been literally just aimlessly scrolling because the amount of shit on this website is fucking amazing.
We can
Like,
get a
so much
triangle
good shit.
car. I don't even know what that is, but we can get one.
Right?
Is that
You
like
can
the car from Mr. Bean? With like the three
No, I
wheels?
don't know what it is. No, it's not quite. No, but yeah, I would love to get one of those. It's that fuggliest thing I've ever seen. Oh, we can buy Ben Affleck's bachelor pad for just
Yeah.
the small price of $16,711,000.
Oh yeah, I've
Right.
got that lying around.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's also like fucking sick technology. Like they're looking at one right now. It's smart facial recognition pet door. So a pet door that only opens when it recognizes your pet. Like shit like that. Like people have just come up with outlandish shit. It's like, fuck yeah, I need this in my life. But there is like, screen accurate Witcher costume. There's so much fucking shit on this website.
There's a
that is just
35-foot Michael Myers inflatable wacky wavy arm guy for $5,000.
Yeah, so I would highly recommend, if you just need to kill some time, go on thisiswhyimbroke.com and just start scrolling, because the shit on there is amazing. Like I would never buy a single thing off this website because I'm broke as fuck. But it is if you just want to pretend like you're rich for an afternoon, it is a lot of fun to scroll through.
Nice. It is my birthday this week, so maybe I'll start scrolling and just dropping hints to people. This
Yeah,
$18
just
million
start sending
bachelor
links,
pad looks really affordable, guys.
Yeah.
Something real nice.
100%. But Margy, what about you? What is the nerdiest thing that you've done this week?
All right, so this is a team effort to be this
All right.
nerdy. So I had a birthday party last night, which is why I'm a broken shell of a human. And I said, as a joke, so there's a little bit of backstory to this. My biggest hero of all time is a honey badger named Stoffel. You might know him from a YouTube clip, which I've obsessively watched since it first came out. Like, I watch it at least once a week. It's the only thing that brings me serotonin. And it's about a honey badger in South Africa named Stoffel that keeps escaping from its enclosure. And it's just it's just nonstop, shenanigans. He's rolling rocks up to the fence and stacking them, and he can open gates and stuff. And it culminates in him breaking into the zookeeper's house in the middle of the night after escaping from his pen. So he escapes, breaks into the zookeeper's house, and goes into his bedroom. And all the pictures of him are just him like lean back with his balls out, just scratching his tummy, like snorting. Honey badgers make really funny sounds, or just running around being a menace, like. And I love him. I love him so much. So
Amazing.
I said, like, if you don't know what to get me, you can get me a drawing of Stoffel the honey badger as a saint. And I think my honey badger obsession really did start with The Gods Must Be Crazy, when he crosses the desert and there's a honey badger latched onto his boot, and he just drags a honey badger across the desert, and it's just, I love them. Anyway, so one of my friends, for those watching, you can see it, did AI generated art of a honey badger
Amazing.
as the
Fantastic.
post, and it's fucking amazing.
That's phenomenal.
It is now my prized possession. It's I really like that there's like a red glint in his eyes. I think it just makes it a bit more special.
Really
So,
catches the Pope in him.
it really catches the true evil and
Yeah.
chaos that is Stoffel. So it is my prized possession now. And yeah, I'm just really proud.
Phenomenal.
So I love honey badgers. If anyone wants to get me a birthday present, you know what to do. Add to my collection. But yeah, shout out to my old bandmate Freddie for doing awesome AI generated art and sussing it out. So cool. Love me some AI art. That is a fun thing that's happening at the moment.
Speaking of art, though, Margy, you've come up with the medium beat for this week, which is quite topical for you. But would you like to tell us about what we're doing in this medium beat now?
Yes, I would. I had the absolute delight this week of having some laser tattoo removal. If you've had it, you understand. It's great. Like, I've got my knee tattooed, I've got my stomach tattooed. I'm pretty tough. And laser is like, God, I'm glad it's quick. Don't try and be super brave and not use numbing cream. Use numbing cream, otherwise you're crazy. Anyway, so I have these umbrellas on my chest, which are currently beautiful and blistered. I'm showing them off on camera. They're just blisters, and they're so itchy but so sore. And I got them done when I was 19, so that was a time ago. And they're shit. So I'm getting them taken off to get them covered up, and I'm also getting another piece currently lasered. So I was like, why don't we just talk about, because Josh and I were having a convo about it. I was like, why don't we just talk about tattoos that we regret? Because like if you, I don't know if you've seen the three of us, but we all have at least one of our arms completely tattooed. Grant's got both.
We're all pretty heavily tattooed.
Yeah, we all, and which is a very interesting topic, which I'm sure we'll delve into in a future episode. But I was like, let's talk about tattoos we regret, because the ones on my chest, I'm just kind of like, this is pretty shit and ugly and embarrassing. But the one that I'm getting off on the inside of my arm was meant to be an hourglass, but looks like fucked if I know what, and had As I Lay Dying lyrics on it. And for those who don't know, the lead singer of As I Lay Dying, Tim Lambesis, hired a hitman to kill his wife and is a fuckwit.
But also important to say, the hitman turned out to be an undercover police officer.
Hot tip: if you find a hitman really easily, they're probably just an undercover cop.
If a hitman is saying, "Pay me $10,000 and I will risk 25 years in prison," it's not a hitman.
No, you're just.
If it's America, you're even risking the death sentence. I mean, anyway, so Tim Lambesis, long story, roid raging fuckhead. Anyway, I think he's married again now. Someone was telling me.
He married a Playboy bunny or something like that. Fucking crazy world.
Jesus Christ.
Funny thing about Tim Lambesis though is when he did go to jail, they wouldn't give him his anti-estrogen pills for his steroid addiction, so he just ended up with massive tits in jail.
Maybe I should get a cover up of Lambesis tits. So what about you two? Anyone got any regrets?
I've like a half finished one. I used to be friends with a tattooist who is really, really good at realism and black and gray, wanted to practice his color stuff. So he said he'd give me a free tattoo. I could even help him choose if he wanted. The only thing was like, he got to do whatever he wanted in color. And we'd both just seen Deadpool. So I was like, why don't you do a Deadpool portrait on my thigh? And we did like one session. And then after that session, I found out that he was a fucking like an actual just piece of shit and an abuser and creep and all that kind of stuff. I was like, well,
call him out.
Yeah, never talking to you again. And so I now have this like half finished Deadpool tattoo. And he was like a very like one of the most talented in Australia. So it's not something I could go to just like any tattooist to finish. There are other people I could go to, and they would probably do just as good job at finishing it up. But I'll just
stick and poke it to finish it. That's the most Melbourne thing ever.
Yeah. But it also just like it just reminds me of him, and like I like Deadpool, but like it's not a tattoo I would just like I would never pay to get it done because I'm like there's just other shit that I'll pay and get done. But because I don't like I don't go to the beach and just wear Speedos, so my thighs are never really on display.
Don't lie, I've seen you. You're the one who's always like, I'm not wearing pants.
Yeah, you were just talking all last week about how you wanted to be a mermaid, as if you don't want to be at the beach, Josh.
But and so it's like it's one that I always kind of look at and just be like, one day I'll get that lasered, but it hurts and I don't.
And it's expensive.
And it's expensive. And like apart from that, like the very first tattoos I got, it's not so much that I regret them, but I absolutely would not get them now. Like I got the Transformers logos and like the backs of halves. And they're just like
sick.
They take up a lot of real estate.
Yeah, it's prime real estate.
The tattoos like I wanted to get wrapped around my legs at an older age don't work with these ones. So I have like these sick like trad tattoos all around my legs, and then just these fucking like Transformer logos just like jammed in the middle of them, and they're just like they don't work or anything like that. But it's like they were the first ones I got, and on the odd occasion that I do wear shorts, people always like be like, "Hey, Transformers!" Like, "Hey, fuck yeah!" And it goes with like I have like Transformers, Star Wars, Star Trek tattoos, and so it's like from like the nerdy side of things. Yeah, it's not so much that I regret them, but I think about them now. It's just like I would never fucking get the Transformers logos now. Like, not ever.
I think it's cool, like having tattoos, like your first tattoos or like tattoos from like a period, as long as they're not like super shitly done, which mine are. But like sometimes it's nice just to like see how you change, and it's like I feel like it tells a story. I don't know, like where you were 10 years ago when you had a spare couple of $100.
Well, I think that's my issue now is like I don't have any tattoos that I regret getting, but I also have like a bunch that just aren't finished because so like I haven't been tattooed in I don't know since I was 21, so about like 5 years, and like I went hard from like 18 to 21, and then as soon as like adult life kicked in with like bills and like car loan, rent, and then now like mortgage. I'm like, I can't afford to get these tattoos anymore. Like I got like real life shit to pay for. This sucks. I hate this.
Yeah. There's a reason why I don't have a car. I live in a very cheap share house. I'm a poor person, and when I get money, I spend it on tattoos. It's an investment for my skin suit that I'm going to auction off one day.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure as well, like Margie, talking about your As I Lay Dying as well tattoo. I mean, there's probably a whole episode you could do around like separating the art from the artist, and maybe that's a conversation we could have. Because I mean, the other tattoo I do have, like my entire leg is themed around a song from Brand New. And Jesse Lacey from Brand New got called out for getting girls to send in photos of his feet that were not of age, photos of their feet that are not of age. And so yeah, Jesse's unfortunately a fucking creep as well. But also that song means so much to me, and I'm just like, it's not his song, it's my song, and these are my lyrics. This is a very selfish thing to me, but at the same time, it's a fucking creep, and it's like it is that sort of back and forth you kind of have internally of just like, I don't know which one's right.
It's like a character struggle where you're like, I think it's something that's not black and white at all, but also I definitely think that whatever the wrongs absolutely need to be addressed for sure.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, I've got a couple of tattoos. I've got like a little skull on my ankle. And then I've got a Kurt Vonnegut tattoo of like Goodbye Blue Monday. Kurt Vonnegut's my favorite author of all time ever. I fucking love him. Like he's just a fucking nut job. And I also have on the side of my boob a box cutter, like a Stanley knife that says "fuck the patriarchy." Or as one of my friends read it, he was reading it, and he's like, "Fuck the patriarchy." And I was like,
that's
amazing. But the person who did them is from Brisbane, and they are a complete. They've been called out a lot for some really shit, really sketchy behavior, and quite cancelled by a lot of people. So I'm like, the irony that you did a "fuck the patriarchy" tattoo, but you're a complete fucking creep is, that says a lot, doesn't it?
I think a lot of those people, unfortunately, just money's money. I don't think they're not a lot of depth, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's a lot of toxicity in the tattoo industry. A lot of stories. So if you ever do hear about someone being a creep, or if you have a bad experience when you're getting tattooed, someone is inappropriate to you, fucking tell someone, call them out. Like,
there's I think she was a
or
model,
tell me and I'll go call them out. Like, if you're not brave enough to, I don't care. No one likes me anyway.
I think she was either a model or an artist. I can't remember, but there's a person called Angelique Hootcamp who had a really popular Instagram as herself, and she's just turned it into an Instagram for just calling out tattooists. And so if you ever just want to,
she's amazing
about your tattooists as to whether they're creeps, check out on there, because there is a lot of like the person that did my thigh has been called out on there, which is very, very funny, and not just from like the friend that I heard it from, but from like multiple people now as well. And so, if you ever want to do a little bit of research, I think it's just Angelique Hootcamp. I think that's still the Instagram.
I think she's Dutch or something. I can't remember. And also a really good tattooist. So support female tattooists and non-binary and
100%.
Yeah. This in today's corner of Margy says that there are too many men.
Margy says the dark thing.
Margy says there are too many men. My one brain cell's struggling. Oh no.
Well, I mean, Margy, we're going to challenge those brain cells with the topic for today, because it's a topic that I knew that you would get excited about, and you didn't disappoint when you sent through a screenshot of the notes that you made for this. Because
it was a video because it had to scroll.
Because you had to scroll. That was right. But I wanted to see where we could take a conversation around like bioengineering and cybernetics and future augmentations. I think it came because I was watching that Alita Battle Angel movie, which so many people said it was shit, but I really enjoy that film. But it got me thinking a lot about.
I'm pretty sure a battle robot lady doesn't need big tits, but anyway,
she doesn't have big tits in this one. I mean, she had boobs.
Yeah, I don't know why you need them. Just like, come on, function.
Fair. Totally fair. But yeah, Margy, but you've got definitions for us if we're going to define bionic cybernetics. So would you like to kick off this
Oh,
long beat?
you bet your beautiful bottoms that I do. Hang on, just let me drag this. My keypad's really dodgy because I spilt tea on it. Because I always am drinking tea. And nope. All right, she ain't moving today, so this is what we're doing.
Smart.
So bionic is where we're starting, and it's a portmanteau between biology and electronics. It was coined by Jack Steele in 1958, and then it was kind of popularized as a term in the 70s US TV series The $6 Million Man, which is based off Martin Caidin's 1972 novel Cyborg, and then the show The Bionic Woman. But the concept of like this machine man mixture has been around lots longer than that. In 1843, Edgar Allan Poe, the hero of the Goths, he described in one of his short stories, the man that was used up, described a man with extensive prosthesis. And then there's like in the 1928 novel The Comet Dune by Edmund Hamilton, he presented space explorers with a mixture of organic and machine parts. The first use of cyborg was coined by Manfred Clynes and Nathan Klein, but names are spelled Clynes and Kline. I just thought that was a really nice coincidence. And it was to refer to their concept of an enhanced human being who could survive in extraterrestrial environments. To quote, for the exogenously extended organizational complex functioning as an integrated homeostatic system unconsciously, we propose the term cyborg. He was actually, and one of those guys was actually a chief, like a research scientist. So like, this is real research. They presented their research and came up with a great paper with this lovely quote in it, which is, a cyborg is essentially a man-machine system in which the control mechanisms of the human portion are modified externally by drugs or regulatory devices so that the being can live in an environment different from the normal one. So cyborg stuff to start with was all about humans surviving in extraterrestrial environments.
Interesting.
Like, yeah. So there's a few more things that I want to go over that are closely related. So we've got biomimetics, that was termed by Otto Schmidt in the 50s, and Velcro is an example of biomimetics. It's where we mimic something from nature in design. So Velcro was invented by Swiss engineer George de Mestral in 1948 because he took his dog for a walk and saw how like all the burrs stuck to his fur, and then was like, we could use that, and then mimicked that design to make Velcro.
Nerd.
Yeah, I fucking love nerds. And then there's bionics, which is a bit different. So not applied to humans. Like bionics in engineering is a big thing. Like bioengineering, a lot of nanotechnology gets used for that. But like they're researching how lizards stick to walls and climb up them. And they're trying to research and mimic their feet to make super grippy stuff. The paint on ships' hulls mimics the thick skin of dolphins, so it's actually modeled off dolphins. You know, we've got sonar and radar for echolocation. And then you can have like computer science applications, like artificial neurons, artificial neural networks, swarm intelligence, and that's cybernetics. Like it tries to model the feedback and control mechanisms of intelligent behavior. So that's like what those are for. And yeah, bionics not applied to people. There's lots of like nanostructures, photonics. They use them in robot design. I don't know if like the bionic dog counts. Have you? So my little sister used to work for like the DPI in Queensland, Department of Primary Industries, doing like biosecurity, and she was telling me about new little like biosecurity robots that they have that are meant to walk like dogs, and they're kind of cute. So I don't know if that counts as like, or if that's just a robot. Like,
I think at that stage it is a robot. I think if we're sticking to like the human side of it.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I do have the bionics here. So from what I can tell in my research, bionics emphasizes implementing a function found in nature rather than imitating biological structures. So like a bionic arm doesn't have to look like the arm, but it has to mimic the arm's function. And you can consider it as restorative or enhanced. So restorative restores lost function. So it might be, like a cochlear implant or something. And enhanced is about maximizing the output to exceed normal processes or even gain new functions that weren't originally present. So, like
So it's like
super
when you
punch
have
arm.
7 fingers,
Yeah,
one
exactly. So
hand,
you can
7
play sick
fingers.
riffs. Um, and yeah, so and like I guess like that kind of enhanced is where like the whole cyborg thing fits in. I just love that cyborg was coined for humans that they wanted to do if deep space exploration. Like,
That's really interesting that it was like specifically for that because it's not how I think about it at all.
mm,
Hmm.
I think there's definitely uh like there's like the sci-fi of it and stuff. But like yeah, seeing it pop up in a few books and then TV series and obviously then we had like RoboCop, etc. Um
He's no
yeah.
spaceman.
Yeah, but there are lots of real successful bionic devices if you want to know about them.
Absolutely.
So we've got the multi-channel cochlear implant, which is an Australian invention. There's sorry, I love that. Australians are amazing. We invented Wi-Fi by mistake, but yeah. Uh,
Head counts.
And the
uh,
goon bag and the Hills hoist. We cover the gamut.
exactly. Um,
Innovation is not dead.
um, so there's limb and hand prosthesis with sensory feedback, which is amazing. So you could touch something with your prosthetic hand and have it feedback
Ah,
because
shit.
that's the beauty of it because everything in humans runs on electricity. It's all electrical signals. So if you can make an electrical signal go to the brain, you can make yourself feel something. It's like in Scrubs when the when the famous brain surgeon comes in and JD's imagining himself with his head open and they're like operating on him and they're like, and this here's the speech center. He's like, I don't feel a thing. That just lives rent free.
Yeah.
There's nano devices of artificial red blood cells. A thought that I had: do pacemakers make people cyborgs?
Technically. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Can
it's yeah.
you go to another planet with the pacemaker?
As long as there's no really strong magnetic fields.
My grandma
No
has
black
just
holes for you.
so my
um,
grandma has just become a cyborg then, really, when you put
yeah,
it like yeah.
cyborg grandma. So
Mm,
Nanageddon is
mm.
coming.
Yeah, she's gonna
Um,
kick your door in tomorrow, I swear.
Wouldn't surprise me. She is a powerhouse.
well, there's lots of other things that like help with regulating pulse and stuff. So, but like there's bionic eye implants and they work. So some of them convert video images from a mini video camera on your glasses and put it into the brain. There's retinal implants, and the retinal implant with electrical stimulation would act as a substitute for your missing ganglion cells, which is what connects the eye to the brain. And so this like brain computer influence interface, also called a BCI, is the direct path of communication. That's what gives you the feedback. And using this, I thought this was fucking cool. So a British scientist had an array of 100 electrodes fired in his nervous system in order to link his nervous system to the internet to investigate enhancement possibilities. And so he extended his nervous system over the internet to control a robotic hand. And then he received feedbacks from the fingertips to control the hand's grip. And this is all via the internet.
That's
Fucking
wild.
wild is that?
That's what I was gonna talk about.
Oh, shit! Shit!
That's all right.
Um,
I'm off the clock now. Laters.
well, we could cut
Well,
that
I
little
was gonna
section.
say, well, Grant, can you expand upon this? Like, obviously,
Yeah.
No,
you
not
looked
really.
into
So I was
this,
just going to talk about like in 2021 they were like testing the brain controlled robotic arms that have like a full motion spectrum, so they can do everything like a normal hand can do, like in the University of Pittsburgh. And yeah, they did it as you talked about with the BCI by putting electrodes directly on the brain, so they could use it. I think it's like the motor cortex and the somatosensory cortex.
Yeah.
I think it's just called. Yeah, it's like tiny electrodes they put on those cortexes that send the messages to the hand through thought, so you could move stuff. But then they also added the feedback, so they could send an electric message back, so you can actually feel the object that you're like, in a sense, feel the object that you're touching, so you can actually have more confidence in performing tasks with the hand, because apparently it basically doubled the speed at which the person would use the prosthetic hand, because they were able to actually get feedback from the environment that the hand was in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like that's the big kind of link with everything as well. Because yeah, the part of it that sort of ties into that I was doing a lot of reading into was the idea of what's called neuro embodied design, which is basically like uh, embodied cognition's the sort of the stuff that we it's a very like complex thing, but the simple side of it's like the stuff that we don't realize that we're doing. Like I was watching a TED talk with a guy called I think his name was Hugh Ha. And basically he was
Hoo-ha.
he
Sorry.
hoo ha.
Shuck beat.
But he
Chuck big hoo-ha.
I'll link in the show notes because it was a really really interesting one to watch. But he was in like a hiking accident and became a double amputee from like the knee down. And so he's giving this TED talk talking about how he was helping another friend of his who was a like a rock climber, was in a rock climbing accident and lost his foot. And so they were
No, I'm pretty sure it's the hand, and he cuts his own hand off, and after he's there for 100 hours, that's the
different
only
film.
rock climbing incident that's ever happened.
different film. But yeah, so this guy they were trying this new thing on him that was basically like to the point of like when you're going downstairs, you can kind of tell exactly where your foot is, and so you kind of lift your foot and do like sort of like these real subtle bits of movement that haven't really been possible in like bionics and stuff to date. But they've been working really really hard on finding those like those neuro embodied design, so it perfectly mimics the way a foot moves, to the point where this guy, like they showed it at the end, is that this guy got back into like rock climbing up the sides of huge fucking cliffs with this completely bionic foot. And it's like there's the footage of it and watching the foot kind of move, and he finds the grooves. It looks like it's just a foot. It looks amazing. It's so
That's
fun to
awesome.
watch.
Now
Yeah.
do it over the internet, so you don't actually have to go rock climbing. You can
You
just
just have to
feel
think about
send
it.
the
you could just
foot.
think about it and send the foot, because that's
Yeah.
fucking magic, that is. I do have a magic callback. So you know how I was talking about the other week how stuff sees outside the human visual spectrum?
You were saying the science is magic, yes?
Yeah, exactly. In 2004, a British artist got a cyborg antenna implanted in his head that allows him to extend his perception of colors beyond that human visual spectrum. And he feels, but because you can't obviously, like, our brains can't comprehend seeing them, he feels it as vibrations. But yeah, and then he got a passport photograph, and his little antennas in the passport photograph, which I think is really funny.
So he's Bender.
Yeah. Yes.
It is interesting though, because it is like where we are at now is almost at the point of like not being able to know. As like I said, in the case of that mountain hiker right there, like got him back to functioning like there was no difference. And like another example, which is more prosthesis than bionics, but there was a very popular metalcore band called The Ghost Inside who were in a bus accident in 2015, and
Yeah, it was
the
fucked.
drummer, they all got really really fucked up, and the drummer lost one of his legs. And so obviously he felt like he was never going to drum again, and his father likes to tinker, and his father made him something that was able to do like quite literally mimicking like double kicks and everything like that. And I saw them at the Return show in 2019 in LA, and legitimately, like, if you didn't know he was missing a leg, you wouldn't have been able to tell at all. Like his drumming was perfect. It didn't sound awkward. It was the same. It was like faster, because when bands are live, they play faster than like the album and stuff like that. Like there was not, like, he wasn't playing slower. It was just, it was amazing to see that we're kind of at this point where through all these things we are at the point of like basic human functioning, like there's no difference. So it's like where how far do you think humans are going to take it then? Like, because obviously, like, we can do better, we could do more. Is that okay? Should we be doing that?
Should we be putting chips in our hands, those RFID
Mm.
chips?
I don't know if I'd do
Because
that.
Nah, I'm not about it.
there's a company in the US that has 85 employees, and over 50 of them have the chips, and they can use them to operate devices, swipe cards, unlock doors, and it's been approved by the FDA, which, like, yeah, but stuff that people are working on is like implantable sensory and telemetric devices. So something that's going to like monitor your health essentially from the inside. So you can have like a little device where it's like, you have low potassium. I don't know, like your heartbeat's really shit. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. And like that could be really good in the medical sector because like you know, you can your doctor doesn't have to do blood tests all the time or anything. It like
You'd be able
can
to
just
detect
tell
heart
them.
attacks before they happen. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
but what if
there'd be a lot
what if
of
someone hacked it? I don't know.
mm, mm.
I don't know what the device would do. I don't know. What if you hacked it to grow a like little motor and then it just like swims around into your brain? I don't know. I'm
But
not an
yeah,
engineer.
but yeah, in things like that, like I mean, you could hack it to steal someone's yeah, like medical, mm, you know,
Record or something, yeah,
yeah,
because it'd have
records
to
and
be
stuff
it'd
like
have to be
that.
some kind
It's
of identity linked to the chip.
yeah,
I'm way too open about my medical history then. I'm like,
yeah,
why would
same.
people want to know my medical record? I take antidepressants. I've had my appendix out.
But you know, like it's yeah, I guess a lot of my notes and stuff were sort of around like the idea of the human condition and when you know, like how far do we go? Like obviously in terms of like you know people who have had amputations and getting limbs replaced and whatnot is one thing, but then like you know when a fully physically quote unquote healthy human being decides, oh, I want arms that do this instead or legs that do that instead, like
Inspector Gadget.
yeah, Inspector Gadget, exactly. Like it was I saw someone make reference to this on the internet and I actually thought it was a really really kind of interesting reference. Is you two are familiar with the concept of the ship of Theseus?
Negative.
Oh, is this? Oh, yeah, I know. Yep. All
Yeah,
right, you
so
go.
yeah, for granted for the listeners who don't, basically the short version of the ship of Theseus is the when Theseus returned to Crete with the Athenian youths, the
Oh
Athenians
yes, I do know. Don't worry.
yeah, the Athenians the Athenians wanted to preserve the boat that he came back in, and as pieces of the boat rotted away, they would replace it with a new, stronger piece of wood because the technology improved and whatnot. But to the point where every single part of the ship of Theseus had been replaced, and then it became that philosophical question of: is it still the ship of Theseus, or is it a replica
Yeah.
of the ship of
Is it a
Theseus?
we
Benini
we
bronze?
we
Yeah, is it a
actually
Benini bronze?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god, I can't believe you both remembered. I'm so proud. Because yeah, that's what we talk about a lot in
Hmm.
conservation is like art conservation for those who aren't up to date. But it's like yeah, like how many non-original materials can you introduce before it's no longer authentic? Or like, you know, if you make like a model of it, like does that count as still like having some cultural value and all of that kind of stuff. So but yeah, with a person, um sign
Yeah,
me up for a few upgrades. I'd love not
yeah.
to have to wear glasses.
But how many would it take before you would feel like you weren't human anymore?
I think as long as my heart was beating and I was warm, I would feel human, maybe.
Interesting. What about you, Grant?
I would maybe get an anti-migraine implant. That's probably it. That's as far as I'd go.
I think I think I want like a something in my brain that like stimulates serotonin production so that I don't have depression anymore.
It's
Um
called crystal methamphetamine.
oh sick. All
But you
right.
just it
Look up
just
that,
doesn't
yeah.
work forever.
All right. So
Don't look that
okay.
up, kids. We don't condone the use of crystal
But the
methamphetamine.
gators in Florida are addicted to it.
They be snapping.
They actually are because there's so much in the waterways. I mean, like, well, okay. So what about the I take it you guys have all seen the Book of Boba,
Mhm.
Yes.
because
Oh, I like
we're
the
nerds.
tank. Yeah.
Yeah, the scooter gang. Which I'm sorry, but it was
It was lame.
so Power Rangers. But like they all had like their augmentations. What did they call it? Like
The modders, were they? They were
yeah,
Yeah,
modders?
modders, yeah.
yeah.
And like you saw it being used to save someone's life. Like they were on the edge of death and then now they're back and are all wires on the inside. We saw that, right?
Mm.
But then we've also just seen these fucking kids and someone's got like a bionic arm and I was
Yeah.
like,
Kids
what?
these days don't even want their God-given eyes.
Kids these days want fucking RoboCop eyes put over there
Yeah.
and matching scooters.
Yeah, candy red mopeds.
It's like we're poor. There's no work, but look at my bike, and I'm like, that's another story. But yeah, like
Didn't you just go over that exact same thing with the tattoos? Isn't it the same process?
shut up. I'm
But yeah.
rage quitting.
And then I guess staying on that philosophical bent as well, it's the question of like what would say the world of, I mean, music maybe not so much, but sport especially. I mean, for music, it's like, you know, you're going to be able to blast beat or shred faster. That's, I mean, that's one thing. But for like sport and whatnot, like if they're like, you know, if you see someone running, like they're beating the world record, but it's only because they have like the fastest and the best limbs. Is that really a win? Is that
Well,
really?
everyone would have to have the same setup. Otherwise, it couldn't
Yeah.
have it. It's like even like I'm not
They've
in,
changed
like,
the Paralympics. Yeah.
yeah, like I'm not into like say like racing cars or anything, but I know like V8 supercars, like the shell is like they're under the shell. It's just like a plastic cap. All this, everything is under it, and all those cars, they're all the same. Even though the cap that's on top might be like one's a fucking Holden Ford and one's a fucking DeLorean from Batman Begins. You know, but
that I want to see.
yeah, but under under that plastic cap, all the cars are the same. So the only difference in the cars is maybe the cap is a bit more aerodynamic. But like I feel like if you were if you were doing 100-meter sprint, and you know 3 guys have 1 bionic leg and 1 guy has 2 bionic legs, and he can run fucking 40 kilometers faster than the rest of them because he has more money to afford these legs, then it's not really a fair competition, is it?
Well,
Yeah,
It's not.
but
well, I mean, at the moment, like leg prosthetics, if you look at the ones they use for like sprinters and stuff, you know, like the blade kind of things that they
Yeah.
have, like they're really well designed to allow you to run as fast as is possible. Like, so
But
I
that's still like,
mean,
I guess that's still the human doing it. Like the
Yeah,
human's
the
still moving
power
the
from
legs.
the
But if it's,
thighs,
yeah, it's the
yeah.
power from the thighs, and you can train, and you can kind of
like,
there's
does
still
it
that kind of gone.
count as cyborg if it's like that movie with Tom Cruise, where they're in like the big fighting suits, and
Yeah,
then like one
exoskeletons. Yeah,
exoskeletons, yeah.
it's not Day After Tomorrow, Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah,
I
exoskeletons. I wouldn't say as much because it's sort of like a suit that you get into and such. We're talking about like internal like bioengineering and things like that. Exoskeletons would be fucking fun. I would love an exoskeleton. I think it would
Yeah.
be heaps and heaps
But
of
I feel
fun.
like the bad guys always have them too, like in the
True.
Avatar, the blue person movie.
yeah.
The blue
Yeah.
person avatar.
But you also do have Ripley beating some alien queen in the autoloader, so that's
That
some good.
auto
That's
That's
loader.
some good
true.
exosuit action.
So more or less exoskeletons are what's gonna do our deep space exploration, not
Hmm.
cyborgs.
Yeah.
Maybe. There is a cyborg foundation, which I love, which was started in 2010. It's the, it's the first international organization dedicated to help humans become cyborgs.
Terrifying.
The foundation's aims are to extend human senses and abilities by creating and applying cybernetic extensions to the body, to promote the use of cybernetics in cultural events, and defend cyborg rights. And there is a cyborg manifesto, unrelated, but written by Donna Haraway, who discusses the interconnectedness of humans and technology. So I just like that the Cyborg Foundation, though, is like to defend cyborg rights. I was like,
Yeah.
if cyborgs have enhanced abilities, I don't think they're going to need defending. You know, like what's the thing from Community? Kick puncher?
Yeah.
His kicks have the force of punches.
Grant, I'm hearing through this conversation that you are very apprehensive on the concept of bioengineering. This is not something that you would wish to do to yourself.
No, absolutely not.
What if you didn't have to wear glasses? Does that count?
I have 20/20 vision, so like I just have astigmatism, so I just get migraines if I don't wear them. So that's why I want the migraine implant. But I can see fine.
Where is this aversion coming from? Tell us your concern.
Oh, I just think that it just kind of it goes against what being human is, like the struggles that make you who you are, and I feel like everyone trying to say like in a world where we're trying to not get say like bionics because it's necessary because you've had an accident, but more because you want it, I feel like then you're, you've foregone the human experience by say like, oh, I just don't like my arm, so I'm going to get a robot arm, instead of being, say if you're born with like how some people are born without arms. It's like, yeah, that's a different situation. It's like, yeah, that's a necessity. Well, not, I guess, like, not a necessity, but like you're getting something that you don't have. Whereas I'm removing an arm that I already have to get a robot arm. I just feel like I'm just not about that life. I feel like it disconnects you from the human experience.
I
'Cause
don't know.
I-
Inspector Gadget could be a vibe, though. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie. Go Gadget!
Well, I mean, yeah, it's interesting that you put it that way as well, because like I thought about it like when for me how many modifications do I have to get before I feel I'm a human, and like I was trying to explain this to a friend without saying crazy the other night, but like I know that I'm not any of my body or even my brain or my heart. I'm sort of like back here somewhere experiencing the whole thing, so I don't feel that attached to any of this. So I feel like as long
yeah,
as I still had my conscience, I would still feel like
Mm,
me. But that TED talk that I was talking about before, the Hugh here, who has like he's had both his legs amputated and he currently has the blades, but he talked about the fact how he wouldn't feel human anymore until he gets those like feedback that he was talking about earlier, like
mm,
the neuron body design. So he kind of
yeah.
agrees with you, Grant. It's like he would feel more human if it was as close to human as possible, as opposed to something quite dramatically removed like his current situation is. So it was interesting
Yeah.
being like, I haven't had that experience, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I think I'd still be fine. But someone who has had that experience is actually saying, no, like I wouldn't feel human until I can have that like that haptic sense back in my feet.
Well, I guess it's the old age. You don't know what you have until it's gone, kind of thing,
Exactly.
isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Like, I guess
Like,
we could speculate wildly about like, oh, I'd be sick to have like tank tracks on my fucking foot instead of toes, but realistically, it's probably awful, isn't it?
yeah, unless you just it's just asking for some kind of like cyberpunk post-apocalyptic world as soon as we
Mm.
Yeah.
start getting tank feet.
Yeah.
But I was thinking on the being able to control the arm through the internet, that kind of thing.
Mm.
Have you guys seen Altered Carbon?
No, I've been meaning
Um,
to watch that for a very
No,
long
I
time,
haven't.
and just more seasons
really
get added, and it just makes it harder for me to commit to watching it.
Look, honestly, if you finish after the first season, it's fine.
Yeah.
But so the idea is consciousness can be kind of uploaded in a way and then transferred to different bodies.
Mm.
And there is like a really weird scene where like on the Day of the Dead, like Dia de los Muertos, they, instead of just honoring the dead and tradition, like the standard traditions around it, you can actually just bring back grandma for the day. Like what? Like,
Mm.
and so someone's grandma gets put into like this sweet old abuela gets put into just like this tough biker's body. She's like,
Amazing.
I'm pissing standing up, and it's really funny. And it's just like and I was like, that's hilarious, but it's really scary. Like this guy wakes up and he's been put into a body, and he's like,
I didn't
what
ask for
the
this.
yeah, exactly. And like so it's really, and like obviously that also starts up like wealth discrepancies because
Mm.
like not everyone can afford to be fitted with like the neural thing that allows them to
Mm.
upload and stuff like that. Um
Yeah.
yeah, which made me think about like the whole upload thing,
Yeah.
the Black Mirror episode in that first season.
Yeah.
Um Series 1, Episode 3, The Entire History of You. That's the one where they have screens and cameras in their eyes, which you can also link to like TVs. So everything that you do is recorded throughout the day. Like everything is just recorded, which is wild. Like, and you can watch it back. And so like when they're having okay, I'm going to do some spoilers for the episode, but if you haven't seen it, Black Mirror season 1's been out for fucking ages, so
Yeah.
yeah. Like they're having sex and they're both like rewatching sexier sex time between them instead of yeah, and then the guy gets super crazy obsessed and just sits there like rewatching her interactions with someone and ends up like ruining his life. And
Yeah.
Mm.
it's Yeah, because
I actually haven't seen that episode, but that's actually exactly where I thought it was going to go, because like we did have this segment we were going to do with how far is too far. And
yeah,
like that's basically not the one you said, but the altered carbon thing. Like my way too far is like, uploading consciousness into like
absolutely.
the ether and then being able to move it. Like for me personally, when I die, I want to be fucking dead in the ground, black, done. I don't want any more. Like I could imagine nothing, like say like if you went to heaven, I could imagine nothing more boring than being trapped to a realm where everything's done. Like there's nothing to do. There's no real experiences to be made. What is that life? Or even like being able to live forever. Like what would you want to live forever for? There's nothing to achieve if you know that there's no end.
This is getting philosophical. Yeah, like what's the point of life if there is no death?
Yeah,
To see the
there is no
end.
point.
To see the absolute end. I like that because I know that I'm very, very much on the other side of this, and I know that I'm very alone in this, but I would fucking love to live forever. Like, I know that we're going way off topic, but I would love to live forever just because I want to see how things end.
But it doesn't end because
Oh,
you
you
live
want to see
forever.
how you want to see how things end. You want to see when the sun explodes, pretty
Yeah,
much. Because
absolutely.
I mean,
Oh, okay, yeah, I
that's
get
when
you.
shit ends. I mean,
Yeah.
unless we
But
get
then
real
you're
good
not
at
living
space
forever, though, are
exploration.
you? Like, I mean, like the concept of living forever.
Unless humans are
Mm.
successful at space travel because we all become cyborgs and we move to
Yeah.
another planet and then we survive when the Earth gets engulfed by the sun. Oh
Mm.
yeah, spoiler alert, guys. The Earth will be engulfed by the sun at some point, and we all humans will
Yeah.
die if there's any Earth
What?
left because we fucked it up.
But then, like,
um,
say, if we're all cyborgs, why, like, the only reason why we'd leave the Earth is because it's going to end our immediate life. And at that point, that'd be the only time in that cyborg's life that they've had any purpose, because you only live, like, most of your purpose in life is to survive. And
what is my purpose?
everything else stems out of like surviving from like a base instinct. So once you become a
Yeah,
cyborg where you can't die, you lose that entire drive to survive. And then what do you do anything for? Like
yeah, and that's
you could make art and stuff, but it gets going to get to a point where there might be like some people, like there'll be people out there still going to make art, but for the majority of people in life, they'd be like, they're just going to essentially either continue on menial tasks because you're going to have to create things to make new cyborgs, and you're just going to live to perpetuate being a cyborg. Before what?
unless you're super rich, and like
Yeah, and
which
then
you
you get
see which you see explored in
yeah.
Altered Carbon a bit, because then people start like making clones of their bodies so they can keep having the same body as they live forever, and it's fucking wild.
Mm.
Like, um, yeah,
But I mean, yeah,
but
even bringing that into reality, like yeah, like with what Elon Musk is doing with Neuralink and stuff at the moment. Like, I think like
okay, what's
the
that?
well,
Is
yeah,
it like a tunnel?
it's
That sounds like a tunnel to somewhere. We're building the Neuralink.
no, the Neuralink are like basically he wants to like implant chips into people's brains. They can do all sorts of fucking like wild things, like control computers and do everything that we want to do. But the problem with it is like that sort of power should never be in the hands of an individual, especially an individual like Elon Musk. Like you get into like, evil capitalist corporate aside, it's like it's fucking that is a terrifying amount of control and power to leave in the hands of any human being, regardless of
Yeah,
who it is. Like you couldn't even trust that with any sort of like government body. Like there is no absolute that you could kind of hand that level of power and responsibility over. So you have connection to every single human being's brain. Good
absolutely not.
luck.
Especially not in capitalism.
No,
No.
I
no,
I personally believe anywhere there's not a single person that I could trust with that power.
no.
No
And
Yeah.
one.
and like you
So
look at
humans
like
are all shit.
Yeah.
you look at like iRobot, it's like you can't even really trust a robot with that because
No.
it's gonna be just as
Well,
bad.
as we talked about earlier, like when we talked about our robot episodes, essentially since the inception of robots, because the way our pop culture works, we've just imprinted on them the fact that we think they're going to kill us, and we
Yeah.
invented them, and then immediately as soon as we invented them, we've just told them that. So all
Yeah.
they've ever known is that we invented you. Even if before that, we thought you were going to kill us, but we made you anyway, and we still think you're going to kill us. Like it's
Is that why
and
my cat always bites me? Because I think she's
yeah,
going to bite me, and then she bites me because,
Yeah,
oh my
absolutely.
maybe.
god.
Because like
um,
I guess like because from the beginning it's just like we don't ask a lot of the times we ask AI. Sometimes we ask them funny shit, but we're always asking them like the stuff we're scared about, and then that's
Mm.
all like all they're gonna know is the stuff that we're scared about, instead of just like treating them like their own thing. We're like some people do it, but everyone's all concerned about if they're gonna kill us. And as soon as we have one, we just ask them, "Oh, what would you do if like you wanted to kill humanity or blah blah blah?" It's like that's like always the same line of questioning. It's just like, "Oh, could you just like ask me what my favorite day of the week is, maybe, or something
Yeah.
like that."
What is your favorite
Can
day of the
robots
week?
have
To kill all
preferences?
humans.
Yeah.
um. So this. Okay, let's look at some cyborgs from other cyborg kind of stuff from pop
All right.
culture.
All right.
Terminator.
Yeah.
Good
Kill
one.
all humans,
Kill all
maybe.
humans.
I still don't understand the plot of Terminator. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's pretty much what I just said. I think that they were going to turn off Skynet and it said, "Oh, well, I guess we'll turn you off instead."
Skynet became self-aware and then realized that is that the only risk to its intelligence was humanity. So it started a nuclear war, just so it could wipe out humanity and then create the robots, and along they came.
Oh my god.
Hmm.
Jeez. DC Comics has got Cyborg.
I do love
Cyborg's
Cyborg from Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Cyborg is good in DC. He's
What is
struggling
his
human being.
cyborg power?
He shoots lasers out of his stump that turns back into a hand. He's got like
He has
Right.
he has a body that can sort of transform in a number of different ways, and he can interface with any sort of like electronic device, and he can his arms kind of mod in different ways to kind of create guns and all this sort of stuff.
Oh, that's
But yeah,
Inspector Gadget.
yeah,
But yeah.
but yeah, basically interfacing with any sort of piece of technology is mainly what he does.
Yeah. Ghost in the Shell. That's a good example of cyborgness and consciousness transfer.
And a possible future, like that is that
Yeah.
is definitely one way to look at that, because that looks at the humanity inside of it rather than the human, like the robot inside of the human. It's the human inside of the robot. It's an interesting film, that one.
Yeah, it's if you haven't watched Ghost in the Shell, absolutely watch it.
very big not psychological. What's the word? Brain fart.
Philosophical?
Philosophical. Yeah, very big philosophical views in that. About
Darth
pretty much
Vader.
what we were just
Darth
talking about.
Vader's
Absolutely.
Vader's a cyborg. Technically, is he?
Yeah, well, he's got
I think so,
he's got 2 robot legs, 1 robot arm.
Yeah.
So what's that android? Is an android a?
Or two. I think he's all limbs.
Yeah, he's all.
Oh no,
limbs,
it's no, he doesn't, because he uses one hand.
He had one. He had 1 human arm. Now android's like just a complete
and he has a
robot
breathing
that looks
system as
like
well.
a human being. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like Data from Star Trek is an android. So it's like a humanoid robot as opposed to a human with robot parts.
Okay, this is a contentious one. In Evangelion, like Neon Genesis.
Yeah.
Do the suits count as like cyborgy kind of suits?
I feel like that's still the same as like exosuits.
Nah, but they're like, but aren't they like?
But they're like alive. Like
they got like biomatter inside them, don't they? From memory.
Yeah. They're made. Either they're made out of. They have biomatter in them though, which is just.
But I don't think they're like, it's not like.
So is that an android then? Because I know a cyborg and an android are different. So, but I think android is kind of also similar to like Terminator, where it's like a robot with like a bio.
I think an android is just a human-looking robot.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or it's also the operating system for stuff that is
phones. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I just thought. Yeah, I thought the android was like say like a robot with like a flesh bag, but like a living flesh bag over the top of it.
Yeah, so according to Wikipedia, an android is a humanoid robot or other artificial being, often made from a flesh-like material.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so that's Evangelion. So that they are kind of giant android suits.
Yeah, the term is used in reference to human-looking robots in general, not necessarily male humanoid robots. A robot with female appearance can also be referred to as a gynoid. Fair enough. Besides, one can refer to robots without alluding to their sexual appearance by calling them anthrobots or anthropoids. Anthropoids is a sort of a strange one, but fair enough. But yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently in the late 1700s, androids were mechanical devices resembling humans performing human activities. They were displayed in exhibit halls. So yeah, it's still android's still a robot that just kind of like looks humanoid. So I think like a cyborg's a human with like robotic implants, whereas
Robotic enhancements.
an android's
Or
just a robot that looks like a human.
okay.
Yeah,
So
that
like
seems to be
Data
the
would
difference.
be an
Yeah,
android then.
Data from Star Trek is the best example of an android. So it looks human,
Yeah.
maybe like humans, but is not human. Whereas a robot doesn't actually have like a robot's like Bender doesn't have to
it
look
doesn't
like.
have to look human.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
I
you
think
go.
Yeah.
androids.
It can look like
yeah.
a dog.
The more you know.
Yeah, you should look up the little biosecurity dog bots. They're really cute because they have like 4 legs. I like it's like the bomb squad robots, you know, like they're really cute as well. Putting their lives on. Yeah, maybe that's why robots hate us, because we make bomb squad robots. Like you go deal with that explosive. Are you trying to kill me? See? That's the problem.
All right, well, let's.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Josh isn't against getting some enhancements.
No, I would fucking replace most of my body, to be completely honest. I would fucking. I've been telling my dad for ages. Like my dad runs like a big medical research institute, and I keep telling him no one actually cares about curing cancer. I just want robot legs. So stop trying to cure disease and just start working on robot legs, so I can have robot legs instead. I would replace them in a heartbeat, in an absolute
Science
heartbeat.
isn't specialized anyway. It's not like the people working in the medical research can't just jump into like robotics engineering. Like
it's
same thing.
It's
Same
all
thing.
science, it's all magic, and so they can all just stop and work on robotic legs instead. That's exactly how it works.
Veins are just flesh wires.
right, 100%. Yeah, pull them out.
Thanks for
rearrange
ruining my
them.
body for me.
All right, well let's round out this discussion by we all have to get one cybernetic upgrade or bioengineered upgrade. Margy, let's start with you. What are you getting?
I reckon something in my brain to stimulate the bits that make me depressed would be good. Otherwise, I reckon just like a finger knife could be really useful.
Just a letter opener.
Utilitarian.
Like, it's just like Inspector Gadget style. Just like twist your finger and then it turns into like a shiv, and you're like, yeah, take that. I feel a lot safer. All right, Grant.
What about you?
Yeah, I think I have to throw it back to earlier. Definitely be a anti-migraine implant. That'd be my go-to. But yeah. Then again, like I don't know how much it like. I'd have to go pretty far if I felt like I had to get that. But
I'm
at the same
amazed at the
time,
trepidation.
Peer pressure.
really
It's a
am.
beautiful
Yeah.
thing. We'll do it. We'll peer pressure you into it.
also maybe like a new back so it stops hurting. But that's if I absolutely had to.
Yeah, my spine didn't grow properly, and yet I still didn't think of fixing that first. I just was like, let's go for finger knife.
Yeah.
That's much more useful than fixing my spine. Josh.
I mean, I
finger
feel like I
knife?
should. Yeah, well, like I've had bad knees since I was like 12 years old, so I feel like I want to say robot legs, but at the same time, like I think I would replace my eyes with like some like fucking wild eyes that could like take photos and could record and could like zoom and could all like kinds of like fun stuff.
Enhance.
Yeah, I think that would be lots of fun because there's so many times where I'm out like with my camera and I can like try heaps of different lenses on it and I just can't see the shot that I can see with my eyes, and so it's like eyes that could take photos of wherever I am in what I can actually picture. I think it would make me happy because I could just like
That's
I
really
like
cute.
I love photography and I like to think I'm actually quite a good photographer. Like I'm quite proud of a lot of the photos I've taken, but there's just
Yeah, you're a good photographer.
there is just something in just seeing something with your eyes that I just don't think you can get with any camera, no matter how hard you try.
Do you think there'd potentially be some like terrible irony in it? Like, you know how you take a picture?
Irony.
Yeah. You take a photo of something and it doesn't look like how you look at it. Do you reckon it's going to be the same that it looks like that, but then
Possibly.
your eyes, because they're taking photos mechanically, then you get the photo and it looks the exact same as the photo
Do you
you
get a
took with your
shutter sound when it
camera.
takes a picture?
Yeah.
Does it go like,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Yeah, there's a little speaker behind my ear that just
Yeah.
makes that little click noise, so everyone knows that I'm taking photos.
yeah, you can't be a fucking perv. You can't be like checking someone out, like
No,
It's got a
there's-
flash.
blinking.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going with. That's
Fuck yeah.
that's my robot superpower.
It's a good one. I respect that.
Hmm.
Robot superpowers.
Hmm.
I mean, if like a superpower though, like so it has to be mechanically possible though. So you can't just say it's not magic, it's robots.
It's robots.
And we know that robots aren't magic, science is magic.
But we're going to round that out now, and that's going to be a really good segue into the final beat for this show. We're going to go from good superpowers to shit superpowers, which is the final beat of this. And there was two ways that we could have taken this. We could take this as like our shit superpowers, or like super people that have shit powers. But I was thinking, I think you could just open it up to say what was. Whether it exists or not, I would like to hear from you. Like, what do you think could be a superhero that just has a shit power? Like, if you can't think of a superhero that's just like, that sucks, like Jubilee, who just shoots rainbows out of her fingers, and that's kind of all she does, and she's a terrible, terrible addition to the X-Men.
Wait, who's what? Is that actually a character?
What do the rainbows do? Like you trying to like shred someone with photons? Like what's going on?
I can't even remember what they actually did, but she was just like, yeah, she's part of like the younger generation of them. But yeah, she just like basically just shot sparks out of her arm, out of her fingers. Powers and abilities. Let's kind of look at this because it's been a while since I looked it up. Apparently, she was later a vampire. Wow.
Oh, that explains the sparkles.
Generate
pyrotechnic exactly.
Energy plasmoids. She referred to these blasts as fireworks. The plasmoids obeyed mental control, traveling where she directed them, arranging themselves in various shapes, and exploded as she wished. But like, yeah, throughout X-Men, she was just like real beige, like to the point where I'm pretty sure they had to like retcon her and give her more powers because it's like, yeah, it was just a fucking real beige superhero.
That's pretty shit. I think is it in The Incredibles 2? There's that guy whose vomit is like really corrosive.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can like belch up corrosive stuff. Like that's so you have to like, yeah, it's fucking gross.
That was what they did with the second Suicide Squad. Is when James Gunn went through like all of DC's properties to find like some of the worst bad guys, and found like Polka Dot Man, and like actually turned him into the most lovable character in the Suicide Squad. Like, it was fucking absolutely adorable. But yeah, he just found someone who literally just like shoots polka dots that don't even really do anything, don't really hurt anyone, they just sort of like happen. But yeah, I actually really liked what he did with that, because he made this like real garbage superhero into something fucking hilarious.
I love it.
But Grant, what would you describe as a really shit superpower for a hero to have?
Well, I didn't know of any. I didn't know we were actually attributing these to heroes. So the shit, like what I could think of as the shittest worst superpower you could have is knowing the exact measurements of any person's big toenail at any given point in time. So even if it was like 3 weeks ago, I could tell you 3 weeks ago how big your large toenail was.
That's amazing.
That's so specific. Like, even if you extrapolated that, like, I thought you were just going to stop at like someone who could just like look at something and know exactly how
just
like
any
long it
time.
was. No, but like not just for toenails, just like if you could look at like that wall and be like, oh yeah, that wall's 2.3 meters. Like, even that's just that's the shit superpower in itself. But to take it further, I'm impressed with how terrible that superhero
being
is.
able to know the measurements of something would be really useful if you're like a builder or a surveyor. I think like knowing stuff, like when you have the ability to like sense stuff, and it's like, I know at the moment that like it's like seeing the future, but like as it's happening, having that as a power would be really shit. So you can like see like this horrendous bus crash happening in real time, and you're like, oh my god, there's like 20 people dead, Jesus Christ. And it's like, where, what can we do? It's like, well, it's already happened, it's just happening now. And they're like,
yeah. But
where?
I'm just unfortunately experiencing
I'm not quite
it.
sure. I'm just having a vision of this tragedy. And it's like
I wonder if you just like really quickly become desensitized to it though. Do you reckon you just become background
I think
noise?
it would turn you into an absolute sociopath.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Absolutely.
Like, what else? What other coping mechanism could you have? Like, it'd be.
Oh my god!
awful.
Someone just ordered a flat white. Oh, that's it.
Get some
It's not
froth
even
on it at
nearby.
least.
just be able to know one thing. It's like there's a 70% chance that it's already raining. My boobs have ESPN.
ESPN, fuck, that's a great movie. Love
Oh,
some
God.
Mean Girls.
Do you have any shit ones, Josh?
I I was trying to like think about people that could like change things, but in a way that would just be like so inconsequential. And what I came up with was a superhero who can change the temperature of anything by 1 degree and then can't change it again. So can't like change it by 1 and then change it by 1 and then change it by 1 and slowly make it colder. It's like I could make this coffee instead of like 90 degrees, 89 degrees. And then I have to wait.
The question is though, can it cool down after he changes
Yeah,
it?
then it'll just
Okay.
naturally cool down as per normal afterwards. I can help it by just this little bit.
Well, you're actually better off raising the temperature if you want it to cool down faster, because the greater
Ooh.
heat capacity has the greater the rate of change. So,
Nerd.
stop bullying me, Josh. Oh God, it's all my school years all over again. That's a pretty useless one.
Yeah.
So some other great ones I've seen. It's like Popclaw in The Boys.
Yeah.
Her power
Yeah.
is pretty shit. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie. Like, love sausage though. Now, that's a useful power.
There were some amazing ones in The Boys actually that were just kind of
Yeah.
like, oh no.
I think a really bad one is anything where you have to hurt yourself or like that causes you injury. Like, I mean, it's like Cyclops. If he didn't have his glasses on, you'd just like be like you look at your hand and you're like, oh, just cut my fingers off. I don't have my glasses on. Shit. like,
Yeah.
like having
Just
something
want to
like
look
that
at the sunset one last time. Ah!
blows up the sun. Or like having like skin that's like shark skin. You know how like you go one way and it's like will cut you, but one way and it's smooth, and it's like trying to moisturize, and you're like, oh no, it went back a little bit. Oh god, like bleeding everywhere, and
But
it's
would
like
you have to like position your hand away so then it gets stuck on each other? You're like,
exactly.
it's like, is there shark skin everywhere?
Yeah, exactly. You have shark skin, and you just like, I don't know, you go to have a wank, and you're just like, oh god, there's blood everywhere. Help!
I put gloves on it just ripped through the gloves.
Yeah, you go to give someone a hug, and you just rip their back open. Sorry. Like, that's a pretty shit one.
Yeah, absolutely. But dear listener, we need to know, what do you think is the worst superpower a hero could have? This is going to be a challenge to come up with a Photoshop for, but I'm gonna try my best.
Just have Grant looking at someone's toe. Just like,
and it's just like a measurement on it.
yeah. I'm gonna have to do some deep diving into some clip art to try and figure this one out. But every Friday on the Northside Nerds Instagram, we post a question. Every week there's a different question. You can go back through all the questions and answer them all you want. You can let us know in the comments. What
I
you're
love
thinking.
it brings me
It's
joy
always
when
a good
people
time.
answer. Yeah,
It's always a good time. So we need to know, what is the worst superpower you think a person could have?
I
yeah.
did think of. Oh no, I'm not gonna. No, I'm not going there. So I just thought it's
Say
not.
it.
It's. Oh, I was just thinking like being able to like whenever you come, it's like an atomic blast. Like that's what the male ejaculate is. It's like a mini atomic, or it's like radioactive or something. So like you can't
Like,
ever have sex because
Can you
you'll just
survive
like
it yourself or you just
yeah,
explode?
no, you can't. Like that's the thing. Like it's just like you gotta like do it from an airplane. Just-
Well, it just
So it's
reminds
like
me of that.
on contact.
I
If
thought
it
you were
touches-
going. I thought you were going the that scene in Scary Movie when the dude has the orgasm and like shoots Sydney onto the roof and she like sticks to the roof and stuff like that. But I mean that too. That turns into a thing.
Yeah.
And on that
Hero-gasm.
absolute filth, we're gonna end this week of Balrogs
My
and
mind is in the
Blastbeats
gutter.
because brains are no longer functioning. Thank you, dear listener. We love you. We appreciate
We
you.
love you. Thank you.
Inappropriate things. Hashtag ACAB.